All right. Are you ready? We are going to take this slow and take our time and just have fun. All right. So get started with Apex. So what is Apex again? So Apex is Salesforce programming language. So let's read this through. As a language, Apex is hosted. So Apex is saved, compiled, and executed on the server, which is the Salesforce server. It is not executed on your computer. It is not executed on your browser. It is executed on Salesforce server, their platform. Okay? Apex is also object-oriented. So, like any other object-oriented programming language, it supports classes, interfaces, and inheritance. Strongly typed, just like Java. Apex validates references to objects at compile time. Multi-tenant aware. This is pretty unique because Apex runs in a multi-tenant platform. It guards closely against runaway code by enforcing limits, which prevent code from monopolizing shared resources. This is pretty unique in Apex because if you're programming with like PHP or Java or C or C++, you are using a dedicated computer. You can also be in a shared environment. Maybe you hit a memory limit, but this or your server RAM limit, memory limit. But Apex limits, it's limited by Salesforce. You can't just decide to buy a bigger server or decide to increase your RAM to make your code run. You cannot just do things like that. You have to maximize your code to the utmost efficient runtime, so it will do its job very, very efficiently. So your code must be lean, must be bulkified, which is an Apex platform terminology. So it can process 100 records or 100 million records without bogging down the whole server. All right. So that's multi-tenant aware. Integrated with the database. It is straightforward to access and manipulate records. So you can change records with your code, right? You can change records. Apex provides direct access to records and their fields, and provides statements and query languages to manipulate those records. So for example, you have a record which is an account record. The account name is Jimmy, and with your code you can change that account name to Johnny or whatever, right? You can just write the code and manipulate the records. Data focus. Apex provides transactional access to the database, allowing you to roll back operations. So for example, you create an application, and when this application run or a class run, it creates all kinds of things that you did not intend for it to actually do, and then you say, what? Oops, and you can roll it back. Whatever that class or your application has touched, undo it. So just like an undo button. So you can roll back, and so you can take a breath. Whew. All right, back to the original. Okay, easy to use. Apex is based on familiar Java idioms. Easy to test. Apex provides built-in support for unit test creation, execution, and code coverage. Salesforce ensures that all custom Apex code works as expected, by executing all unit tests prior to any platform upgrade. So for example, you're creating a simple application, right? And then you upgrade your application to a newer version. And when you do that, you have to run all the tests against your code. The old one and the new one has to both run. So if somebody installed your application and they're still on version, it has to keep running. You don't break it, right? And people who's upgraded to the new version, it also still need to run. And no other application can be broken with your new updates. So that's the test. It's very, 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 very important that you understand tests, because you cannot deploy any application or code onto your production org without the unit test. Salesforce will not allow it. Okay. Version. Custom Apex code can be saved against different versions of the API. Okay, so that is an Apex language. Let's move forward. The highlights. So this is like other object-oriented programming language. The same thing. We have classes, object and array notation, expression, variables, constants, conditional statements, if then else, and control flow statements, for loops, while loops. This is basic programming language. All of them have this. So Apex has those as well. Now, what's unique? Unlike other object-oriented programming languages, Apex support cloud development as Apex is stored, compiled, and executed in the cloud. Triggers, which is pretty unique, which are similar to triggers in database systems. We will learn about triggers on its own course, okay, on its own section later on. Database statements that allow you to make direct database calls and query languages to query and search data. Transactions and rollbacks. And we have global access modifier, which is more permissive than public. So if you're creating a public application, you might need to use global access modifier, so that and you will have your own namespace, so that when people are installing on various organizations, your code will always run. Versioning of custom code. Okay, so in addition, Apex is a case-insensitive language. So if you write your code with global with a capital G or a small g, it doesn't matter. Public with a public capital P or small p, it does not matter. It's case-insensitive language. So development tools, you can use the developer console, or you can also use Salesforce Studio Code extensions. So we were also use Eclipse before, but I think that's outdated now. We can use Salesforce Visual Studio Code extensions, which we will do later on. It has its own course. All right. So data types overview. So this is pretty much similar with other programming languages, but Apex supports the following data types: primitive, like any other languages, integer, double, long, date time, string, ID, boolean, and among others. An S object or Salesforce object, either as a generic Salesforce object or a specific S object, such as account, contact, my custom object with underscore C. So all custom objects ends with that. And then Apex also support collection, including list of primitives or S objects, user-defined objects, objects created from Apex classes or collections, and then a set of primitives, a map from a primitive to primitive or S object or collection. So all kinds of complex maps are supported. A type list of values, also known as enum. User-defined Apex classes, system-supplied Apex classes. All right. So Apex collection list. Okay. So lists hold an ordered collection of objects. Lists in Apex are synonymous with arrays, and the two can be used interchangeably. interchangeably. So a list is the same as arrays. So this is a sample code. List of string, and we name it colors equals, and we constructed new list of string. Okay, a new list. This is exactly the same as string of array colors, name it the same colors, equals new list of string. This will work as well. Okay, but generally it's easier to create a list rather than an array, because lists don't require you to determine ahead of time how many elements to allocate. Okay, finally we have some sample code. Alright, so this is a code where we create a list of string, name it colors, equals constructed new list of string, and the values are red, green, and blue. We can also make a list of dogs, a list of fruits, or whatever, right? And then you can add elements to a list after it has been created. So this has been created, right? And then we can do list of string, more colors, right? More colors, new list of string, and then more colors, you can add orange, you can add purple, and so forth. So you're adding more values onto the list. Okay, so that's how you add to the list. List elements can be read by specifying an index between square brackets. Just like with array elements, also you can use the get method to read a list element. So you use the get method to read a list of element. So we have an example here. So string color 1 equals more colors, get element, the first element, because it's an array, right? The first element starts with a 0. So I don't think I'm going to explain, the fundamentals of programming, because that would be beyond the scope of this entire Trailhead. You would need to already have a background of computer programming, like the foundations, logics, data types, constructing stuff like this. So if we go, from the ground zero and up, that's going to take so long, and that's beyond the scope of this whole explanation. So we are going to go through the hands-on approach. Okay, we are just going to start typing codes, and as we start typing, we are going to understand how things are built and how Apex is unique and how you can start building simple applications. And along the way, you will understand everything that you need to understand. So because it is impossible for me to explain line by line for every single code we will encounter. Okay, so basically this, then it's gonna assert equals compare color 1 and color 2, right? Color 2, so more colors, it's the same thing, right? This is the same thing. So iterate over a list of elements. You can do the for loop here. For integer, you declare it first, I equals 0 until I less than the size of the list, and then plus plus. I cannot explain how this works. This is basic programming language, the foundation of you usually learn this in a computer science class, or you can also read it on your own, or you can learn basic programming out there, like in Udemy and other places where they teach basic programming languages. So to explain to you why is this like this is beyond the scope of this video or any of my videos. All right, explaining the Salesforce development, because we are just gonna go get familiar with Apex, how it works, what's unique about Apex, and how you do stuff with Apex, and dive in and just do it. So it's beyond the basics, and we're not even going to discuss the basics too much. Okay, so basically this is showing you how lists work. You can assign values to list, and then or add values to the list, and then read the values of the list. But that's just one simple tiny example of the unlimited possibilities of to construct a code. Okay, so let's just move on. Now, Apex classes, also the same thing. I'm not gonna be able to tell you of what is a class in an object-oriented programming, lingo. It's gonna be taking too long. Okay, so you would need to already be familiar with what is a class, all right, in an object-oriented programming. So let's go dive in. So we are going to save this email manager class in our org. So let's go ahead and just go hands-on and dive in. I'm gonna scroll up, go to my hands-on org here. That's why it's called hands-on orgs. Okay, you just jump in and go to my developer beginner one. Boom, and go back here. We are going to save an Apex class. So we are going to make a new class, right? And we're going to call it email manager. I'm going to copy that. Go here. So launch our developer console, which is gear icon, developer console. And then I'm going to double tap. Oh, this is from last video. I'm going to close, and close. And let's go to logs here and file a new Apex class. All right. Email manager. Boom. Public class email manager is empty. So now we are actually going to copy what we have here. The email manager class has a public method, send mail, that sends email and uses built-in messaging methods of the Apex class library. Also, this class has a private helper method, inspect results, right? Which cannot be called externally because it is private, right? But is used only within the class. So let's just copy this already. I'm going to go switch back to my developer console and paste. Boom. So we have an email manager public class. This is the method. It's a public method, send mail. What does it do? Here, it's going to send an email, take an input, parameters, address, which is a string, subject, which is a string, and the body of the email. Okay, and then messaging send email result. You actually send the email, and then you inspect the results, and which is this is the helper method here, inspect results. Okay, to check if it's a success or not. Let's check if this actually are going to send an email or just this is just a pretend. So let's see, new messaging, single email message mail. Okay, that's fine. I don't think I'm gonna actually try it because this is a Trailhead playground, and I'm not sure if it's actually going to send out an email message to the public mail servers. So I'm gonna go back. Okay, let's see what's next here. We just copied that. We just saved that. So we just save a class, right? So we just save a class on our Trailhead playground. Oh, we haven't saved it. I'm gonna Command S or Control S, or you can just save from here. Control S or Command S if you're using a Mac, and the star has to be gone. You know that star, if you make a correction, you have a star there, right? Means this needs saving. Now you have to save it. The star will be gone, means it's saved now. All right, let's go back, flip. Now we are going to actually try this in a anonymous window. Open execute anonymous window. We are going to send an email, copy this code. Okay, so I flip back to my developer console, go debug, open execute anonymous window. This is where you can execute codes, right? So we are going to paste our code. So what is it doing? Email manager, which is our class, right? EM, you instantiate it, new email manager. Now do the method em send mail. Your email address, for example, I changed this student@zone.io, right? And Trailhead tutorial, which is the subject, 123 body, which is the body. So, so now I'm going to drag this up and execute. Let's open log as well. Okay, execute, which is running the code. Now it's going to open the log here. This is the log. What's happening when you run that code? You can trace all of the stuff that's happening. So sometimes the code runs too long and it's hitting the limit, because you have a 60 seconds limit to run your code. If it's more than 60 seconds, it's going to time out. And you can trace it. What's going on? Why is my code take longer than 60 seconds, right? Or any other limit that is hit. Now you just click debug only checkbox. This will just show the debug or the user debug only, which is email sent successfully as expected. Okay, so we just ran our first couple lines of code. First, we created the class, and we have the public class. We have the method, which is called send mail, right? And then we have our execute anonymous window, and we execute it. So we instantiate the email manager class, new email manager, and then we call the method em.sendmail. So basically, it's telling this code to execute the, let me scroll this down, the sendmail method, which is going to execute all these lines here. All right. So, and pass these three parameters. One, which is the email address, and then the subject of the email and the body. So that's what it's doing. Let me pause real quick, and I'm going to check on my email if it's actually sending it or not. Oh, it's actually sending it, guys. So you see, it's from me, Trailhead tutorial, 123 body. Oh, it's not a spam. So I'm just gonna say look safe. So 123 body. It's actually sending it. Let's do another one. All right, let's do another one. Look at this. Boom. Now we are going to say, bada bing, bada boom. And then the body is, what do you say? Boom. And I'm going to execute this. Boom. Please do that on your own Trailhead playground so you have some fun, right? What you need to do is execute anonymous window, put your email address here, and then put whatever you want, and then you go here, and then you go inbox, and bada bing, bada boom. It's saved. Come on, Google. All right, so there we have it. So it's actually executing the email, which is fun. All right, so what's next? Inspect the debug logs, which we just did, and call static method, which we just did. We just send an email and execute that. Awesomeness, we are done. Now the hands-on challenge. I don't want to put this on the same video. It's going to be too long. So I'm going to separate this hands-on challenge on the next video. And I'll see you on the next video. Bada bing, bada boom. Hit that subscribe button and explore new Trailhead grounds and learn to implement the most useful and popular apps on the Salesforce App Exchange. And do yourself a favor. Like this video, and you'll be surprised on how much more you understand when watching this same video after liking it. Don't take my word. Watch this one more time after you like the video and see it for yourself. Bada bing, bada boom.